Hey guys, welcome back to the Ghost and Friends YouTube channel. Appreciate anybody watching on Twitter. Thank y'all for being here as well. Welcome our Mizzou Tiger guest, Miss Maggie Johnson. How are you today, Maggie?
I'm good. I'm happy to be coming off a bye week. Bye weeks are I know some people like complain about them, but I love a good bye week. You get to kind of relax a little bit and then watch other teams fail. This was the best bye week that Mizzou could have had. Like watching the teams in front of them lose and like the competition for those playoff spots were pretty far away from that. But no, it was a good bye week for me.
I'm with you. I love a good bye week. Obviously, this is what we're on this week, and I'm ready for A&M Mizzou. I'm ready to watch, the rest of the slate of college football. Tennessee, Arkansas, I think could be sneaky fun. Several games on there, and it's like I don't have to stress at all about my college football team on Saturday. It's just it's fun. I appreciate it. Kind of taking a little bit of a break, but of course, ready to dial it back up, gear it back in. So, coming off the bye week from Mizzou, let's talk about the first 4 weeks. We don't have to do it week by week or anything like that, but I know nationally there's a few questions about the Tigers. What are your concerns, if you have any, about what you saw through the first 4 weeks? And are some of these concerns fixable overnight, maybe over a bye week? What are your thoughts overall in the first 4 weeks for the Mizzou Tigers?
So Mizzou kind of started this season similarly to how they started last season. We struggled a little bit those first couple of weeks. We played Middle Tennessee and beat them by 4 last year, and everybody's like, "Well, Mizzou's done. Like, there's no way they can do anything." And then we came out, and beat the reigning Big 12 champions in K-State. Obviously, needed a very long field goal to do that, but the players were making connections. Brady Cook kind of turned a leaf in that game. That's kind of what I'm looking for after this bye week. I'm ready for Brady Cook to do exactly what he did in that K-State game and just hit those long balls. That's really what our issue is right now, is we're not, for some reason, there's maybe a lack of chemistry between and our entire receiving corps is back. So there shouldn't be that issue. We obviously everybody knows Luther Burden. We got Theo Weiss, Mookie Cooper, just so many players back. And you would think that would maybe be our strongest point up to this season up to this point in the season. But so far it's really been our running game that's kept us in, the hunt and kept us in the top 10. We've been up and down. The AP poll is so ridiculous. I'm going to be honest with you. We dropped 5 spots in 2 weeks after going undefeated. And then last week, Miami dropped 1 spot after struggling to beat and probably should have gotten beat by a Virginia Tech team that Vandy lost to. So, yeah, the AP poll is just right. It's just kind of like a weird spot. I actually don't think that Texas should have lost their spot either. I talked about that on my podcast I did earlier. But we are struggling a little bit on that offensive side. Our defense has looked decently good. Really, the difference in all of these games and why they've been so close is 4 busted coverage plays that's directly led to 28 points.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the box scores, the stat sheets, Mizzou is pretty much dominated. Boston College pretty much dominated Vanderbilt. And it was just those plays and 3 missed field goals against Vanderbilt, which
doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all, right? But I think Mizzou is still okay. They haven't played like a top 10 team. Definitely not. We should have, beat our teams by more than what we've been doing. But I mean, that's just kind of how Mizzou plays. Like, I mean, last year we beat Tennessee by a lot. In Kentucky by like 14, 17. But really, I mean, a lot of those games were close. Obviously, we beat Arkansas by a lot too. But it's just kind of, you win in advance. That's survive in advance.
That's the name of the game. I mean, the most important thing is that you're 4-0. Those first 2 weeks, you're kind of letting the receiving corps have a lot of rotation. You're not, just using Burden and Theo Weiss a ton. You're letting everyone get some run there. You kind of treated those first two games like the NFL treats preseason games. Like you really weren't trying to push anything. And then in the Boston College game, like y'all had, if I can remember correctly, y'all had a pretty good control of that game up until late.
Even until the end. I mean, Boston College scored late, but we finished the game with the ball in our hands. So it's not like we had to make a crucial stop.
Right.
We should not have let them spread. Never in doubt. There was a busted coverage play that led to that last touchdown in the fourth, but
Right. And now I'll be honest, I didn't watch a single second of the Vanderbilt game live just because I was at DKR, my son's first game. I was in over my head. I was just getting bodied out there. But so I look up and I see that game's going to overtime. And was that kind of the issue with Vanderbilt too? Just a couple of big plays, explosive plays that they got away with. I know they threw the ball deep on y'all a couple times.
Yeah, there was a couple just silly busted coverage plays. And we have a new defensive coordinator in Corey Batoon that came in and replaced Blake Baker, who went to LSU. And we have new pieces. We have Toriano Pride that came in from Clemson. We have a lot of new linebackers, defensive ends. Marvin Burks Jr., who plays is one of our other safeties. He's a true sophomore. He got quite a bit of playing time as a freshman, but is a true sophomore. So there's just a lot of, kinks that need to be worked out. I think they can be worked out. I know you asked that in my first question or in your first question, but will they be worked out overnight? That's kind of hard to say. The good part about this is, though, that A&M has the same issues and that it's the long ball, it's those deep plays that have been giving them the most trouble as well. Arkansas, I think, scored on like the second or third play for, I think, 60-plus yards in their game last week. So that's the good part if Brady and the receivers can get it together.
This is going to be by far the most skilled position or wide receiver group that A&M will have seen thus far. And let's go ahead and talk about that one for sure. A huge game. I mean, if you look at the Missouri Tiger schedule at A&M and then obviously Bama later in the year, seem like to me the two kind of biggest games as far as difficulty for you guys. And that's not to say that A&M is some world beaters. They do have a pretty dang good defense. And then you are seeing them before maybe we've all seen you guys work out some of those kinks. And so, yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I mean, Brady Cook, 4 touchdowns in the air, 4 touchdowns on the ground. You look at 8 touchdowns through 4 games, you're like, yeah, okay. But with the talent around him in the year that he had last year, you're thinking maybe that should look more in like the 12 to 14 range, considering a couple of the opponents. And you do not have to comment on this if you do not want to. Not a big deal. I have seen a couple of, we'll say, Twitter rumors saying that there might be something up with Cook's health. Do you care to comment on that, or do you know anything on?
I honestly don't know anything on it, okay. And I think a lot of that probably just started because, you come off a big season and there's a lot riding on it. You bring so many players back, almost your entire offense, and then you replace Cody Schrader, who's very hard to replace, but with 2 very good running backs in his place. I think it's probably, if anything, it's just that expectation that he has and is weighing on his shoulders. And now remember, like, you look at a lot of the SEC and like the talent that they recruit. I don't think Brady Cook was ever supposed to be that. I think
you're right.
I mean, he's a 3-star quarterback out of St. Louis, grew up a Mizzou fan, loves Mizzou. Like, that's the only place he was ever going to be. We're not getting those superstars that are coming into, we're not getting Lagway and, those type of guys coming in. Right. So sorry, that comment was funny. No,
that's a great comment.
Because next week we play UMass and we'll learn nothing. So it needs to be this week. But no, I don't really know enough about it. I do know his mom and dad, and I haven't heard anything about it from them. So
yeah, definitely didn't want you to. I knew you weren't going to like speculate on anything. I just didn't know if there was like a clear cut answer that maybe I hadn't seen or missed. But yeah, I mean, with the receiving core, if he, over bye week, maybe they adjust something schematically a time or tweak something just barely, and all of a sudden maybe the top comes off of some defenses and Mizzou's finding those big explosives that, were so fun to watch last year. I call it like it was. It's fun to watch Luther Burden do his thing. It really, really is.
And that's a big thing too, is So I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, his stats aren't that good that yet this year." Okay, he didn't play like at all against um I'm already forgetting
I
Murray
forget that.
State.
Yeah, and then
Murray State, and then he was sick against Buffalo, so I think
yep,
he only played like a quarter in that game. And then the last 2 games, he's actually had pretty good games. The problem, with Luther Burden building up a huge stat sheet is exactly what you said. Like, he has Theo Weiss, and he has Mookie Cooper, and he has Mekhi Miller and Josh Manning. Like, there's so many other receivers that Brady can throw to. What I would really like to see in this game is for Luther to play a little bit more in the backfield, get into some of those more creative plays that, he's so good at yards after catch. Like,
yep.
it's really what makes him who he is. And we're not using him very well in that aspect of the game. So I would really like to see that. I would also like to see us incorporate Brett Norfleet, our 6'7" tight end, into the game. Like, we don't use a lot of tight end drops, a lot of tight end plays, but with an athlete like him, also over here from St. Louis, you'd really like to see us utilize that a little bit more.
I get that. Drew TAMU there in the comments. Thanks for watching, buddy. He was on the channel last night, and we kind of talked about that with Missouri. You guys really like the 10 personnel, the one running back, no tight end sets. Make the defense defend sideline to sideline. And then last year they're having to defend a lot of depth down the field as well. And so, but yeah, when you have a talent like that, a 6'7" tight end that can come out and catch passes the way that he can, like that's a big matchup issue. And so you got to find a way to incorporate him into the offense, but at the same time keep your stud. I like all 3 of your receivers there, but obviously Luther's the man and Theo's a dang good number 2. We talked about before the season. I think I told you I thought they were the best 1-2 punch on paper coming into the year. And so, get the big tight end involved, find a way to, like you're saying, get Burden maybe a few more touches, however you have to do it, because he's the best player on that offense and kind of what makes you go. Do you have concerns with the offensive line? It seems to me like from an outsider standpoint, there's been a lot of penalties and whatnot. Sometimes, so those are all self-inflicted things that maybe you can fix with the bye week. But just overall play of the offensive line, how are you feeling about it?
They did get a little bit better in that Vanderbilt game, only had 3 penalties, I think for around 30 yards. So they
Okay.
did get a little bit, and that included a massive penalty in overtime, which was a roughing the passer. I can't believe that Vanderbilt missed the kick on that drive. So because
Okay.
they were up around the 15, somehow got pushed back to where he shanked it. But I'm a little bit worried. I'm not so worried about them in their run game, the offensive line in the run game. I think they're great run blockers. My biggest issue has been the pass blocking. And I think that's translated onto the field. I think it's
Right.
translated into Brady's comfortability. Like you can tell he's struggling a little bit. I think that's just a chemistry thing. We got Caden Green from Oklahoma coming here. We got the kid from Houston that came in. Was it Houston or SMU? I think it was Houston. That came in, Marcus Bryant. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a little bit of new faces, but you have like our center. He's back. He's been playing, for 3 years, been doing a great job there. He's gotten a lot better, but you really need to see the improvement from Green, which I guess PFF grades apparently don't like him at all. He's one of like the lowest graded offensive linemen, but you'd really like to see him kind of come into his own and get that offensive line really gelling.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be a really good time to do so because you are up against a pretty dang good Aggie defensive line. If you see anything on it about A&M's team that kind of gives you pause or concern, what would that be?
Mizzou has played 4 very mobile quarterbacks, and if Marcel Reed plays, he is a very mobile quarterback, so
Yeah.
that scares me a little bit. We're also not great against backup quarterbacks at all. A&M fans should actually hope maybe Marcel Reed plays, even though I'm not really sure if he's considered backup at this point. I think he is. I think Connor Wegeman is
Yeah,
considered the starter at this point.
I'd
So
agree.
that scares me. Nick Scourton, I mean, he's a dog. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, the defensive line, that's NFL talent all over him. You've got Shamar. Is Thomas one of
You
their
got
last names?
Turner, Shamar
Oh,
Stewart.
Turner. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Shamar Turner, and then the other one they have Shamar Stewart as well. But no, they've just got NFL caliber talent all over that defensive line. That does scare me with how our offensive line has been playing. I do want to point out that Vanderbilt's trenches are a lot better than they have been in the past.
Absolutely
They're
true.
big. They are big, like big dudes. I think their offensive line doesn't have anybody smaller than 317 pounds. But on the defensive side, our offensive line got a little bit bullied by them this past week. It was definitely their worst game, so they're going to have a better game against the big dogs at Texas A&M.
Absolutely.
That's what scares me the most. What kind of makes my eyes like widen up a little bit, and you and I kind of talked about this already, is their back seven. I don't think it's as talented as their line. So I think if we can get those connections between those long balls, I think we have a chance. It's just if Brady can get it together.
And that's the thing, like you talked about earlier, you said that the offensive line play and pass protection could be, obviously that's why some of the offensive passing numbers aren't really there. It would be a really good week to hold it together. You're going to need those guys to hold up in pass pro against a great Aggie offensive line. And like you said, if they can do so, from what we've seen out of A&M so far, the shots could be there, And last week, Taylor Green made, like you said, you referenced a 75-yard touchdown. He made a really good play stepping up in the pocket and hitting a pretty wide open Arkansas defender. We got a couple Aggies watching, so I'll be nice. But yeah, I that's the thing. I think A&M's defense is really good, to be honest with you. I get kind of chastised for saying that since I wear burnt orange and say it, but I do think it's a really good group. I'm curious to see matchup wise, because if you kind of spread those guys out, those big guys, and have Burden and whoever running sideline to sideline, what kind of impact it has on them, because A&M hasn't really Arkansas might have tried to do some of that, but A&M was too busy blowing stuff up in the backfield for it to really matter. So I think that if you can get those guys in space, especially early in the game, and get those big guys running a little bit for A&M, maybe that opens things up for Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll in the run game later on, because they've been really good, And
no, they've our running backs have been really, really solid. I think a big thing in this game is going to be making sure that we don't do what Arkansas did a lot, which was turn the ball over. I think A&M won the turnover battle 3-0, which, I don't care what happens to Arkansas, but I don't want to see that happen to Mizzou. We've been pretty decent at taking care of the ball, so I'm hoping that, we're on the positive side of that turnover battle in this game. But like you said, their defense is good. It's solid. It's gonna keep probably the score, I would say, maybe low 20s. Here's the thing is A&M needs the game to stay, I think, in the low 20s for them to have a shot to win. And we would like to get it somewhere around 30 to give us a shot to win. And I think that whoever can kind of win that, the pace race, will come out on top.
No, well said. Battle of styles. Like I said, A&M probably wants to control the ball on the ground a little bit, keep that defense fresh, because let's not, Missouri might have struggled some throughout the season on offense, but you still know what they're capable of. And like you said, maybe it just takes a play, maybe it just takes a drive, a little series of drives, and all of a sudden they look like the Tigers from last year. You're returning a lot of what you had. A little bit of overturn on the offensive line, but hey, coming off of a bye week, Mr. Bain feels good about an Aggie win, he says. I'll be honest with you, Bain. I'm so torn right now. I don't know who I'm going to pick in this game. I've gone back and forth. I like Mizzou off a bye week. I like A&M.
I originally took it. So we did a season preview on my podcast, and I originally took Mizzou losing this game. Now that was when I had like a lot more confidence in Connor Wegeman. I don't think that we go in there and blow it out. But I also don't know if I think Kyle Field is a scary place. Like, don't get me wrong. Kyle Field is a scary place, and it's massive. It's going to be loud. It's an early game, which I think does benefit Mizzou a little bit.
Agreed.
But really the advantage at Kyle Field since the Aggies have joined the SEC hasn't been overly impressive. I looked this up earlier, and so since they've joined the SEC, they're 60-23 at Kyle Field, which is 72.3%, which is good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, the amount that you're winning that's good. But against SEC opponents, they're only 25-20, and against ranked opponents, only 9-14. And I think those are beatable stats. Since I use this phrase in my earlier podcast, and I kind of got made fun of a little bit, but I used at the turn of the century. But but it's been a quarter, like it's been almost 25 years since then.
It has.
But like Mizzou's actually played pretty well in College Station. Now, granted, Texas A&M wasn't that great in the 2010s, and Mizzou kind of came to their own with the Chase Daniels and Jeremy Macklin days. But Mizzou hasn't played that badly there. So, but it has been 10 years, which is kind of also crazy that we haven't been in College Station in 10 years.
That is crazy.
But I don't know if I think that Kyle Field makes that big of a impact on if who I think is going to win this game.
I mean, I get it. It definitely is an intimidating place. It is kind of weird, that there we go. I like it, Drew. Challenge accepted. So they got to step up. I like it. But it is weird, You said 25-20 against SEC opponents. And I mean, like, it is a pretty cool place to watch a college football game. Kind of gagged saying that, but it's neat. The environment's cool. It's loud. They create penalties. It's just weird that the record. But hey, I guess when you have someone who's basically tanking on the job the last couple of years, and Jimbo Fisher, who borderline tanked his whole career, so not his whole career.
I will say I really, really like Mike Elko. I was watching his press conference this morning, just his like weekly press conference. I think he's like very respectful. I love what he did at Duke. I think he's going to get A&M in a, this might be one of those like buffer years, but I think he's going to get A&M back to, where they should be with the amount of talent that they had, because the amount of talent that they have it's undeniable. Like you see it, like it's Texas. Right. I mean, same level of talent that like Texas has. Like you get those big dogs, and I mean, I understand the appeal of wanting to play, at a Texas A&M.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate saying it, but yeah, Elko, I fully agree with you. I think Elko does really good things for A&M, and he probably does it sooner than later. After maybe what you have a little bit of a buffer year, if it even is that, there's still a writing on the wall for them to get in there and make some noise, even with the early season loss to Notre Dame, because like both of our schools, they have been blessed from the schedule gods. The schedule gods look down upon them. And
it's never talked about. I'm sorry, but like it is not talked about, and it needs to be talked about how they don't play Bama, don't play Georgia, and all of their hard games are in College Station. It's all I ever hear is how easy Missouri and Texas's schedule are, and I'm like, why are we not talking about this?
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and that was the thing about them crying about our schedule was like, have you looked at your own? Like we are your hardest team that you will play all year, and not to knock my school or anything, but it was like we've got Georgia, the defending national champions, of Michigan, who was a shell of themselves. Yes, I can concede that. But yeah, Kentucky's not going to go down the whole schedule. It's just funny. But hey, I will take our 3 schedules and not Oklahoma's any day of the week and be perfectly fine. I don't care if I have Mizzou's, A&M's, or Texas. No complaint.
No, agree. We didn't make the schedule, so there's no point for me to feel bad about it. I mean,
right.
we still have to go, and like this is obviously, dependent on how well Bama does in their next few weeks, which I'm sure will be fine, and how well we do. We are still going to have to go play at the number 1 team in the country, unless there's some more hopping around between Texas and Bama. I don't know. The A people, we never know what they're going to do.
True.
But nobody wants to go play at number 1 Alabama on homecoming. I can tell you that nobody wants to do it. We're doing it. So, I mean, if we don't win this game against A&M, I'm not saying that it's like a end all be all. But the only way we make the playoff is if we beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa at that point. And we win out and we beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
So you're saying 11-1 is needed for Mizzou to for sure get in, which I mean, I guess
100%.
10-2, you don't think 10-2 gets there? What if 10-2 includes a win over Alabama? Which you'd be pretty mad you still found a way to lose 2 games.
Yeah, exactly. Like find a way to lose that at like South Carolina or home against OU. I do think.
You're not losing that game at home versus OU. Let's just.
I mean, I don't think so either, but I'm not saying anything because I'll get yelled at. So I will get called all the names in the world.
I'm in full slander mode of Oklahoma for 2 weeks. So I feel like it's fair for me to say, but I totally
Oh
get
yeah.
any
No, yeah, no,
hesitancy.
you're on the bye week, the
It's a weird deal for us. I don't remember ever doing this before. Having 2 weeks before this game, it's weird. I'm normally so amped up and ready to go, and already have the bag packed for Dallas, and I'm just like sitting on my hands here, worried about your game, and that's fine with me because I'll stress about it next week. But yeah, I mean, big picture, like, so you're essentially, this is a must-win game for Mizzou, in your opinion.
I think so because you look then back at the resume. Like last year, we would have gotten in at 10-2, which I think that's great. But you look at how well we competed in our losses. Like one of them, they were both actually due to bad decisions by Brady Cook at the end of the games. But we went to Georgia, lost by 9, but that was only because of they threw the ball to Stackhouse to a defensive lineman, which was actually crazy. And then, we had LSU at home, which we should not have lost that game either.
Yeah,
And we would have made the playoffs. This year, with what they did to Florida State, I think that your resume is going to matter a little bit more than maybe in the past, especially with like the new SEC format.
right.
So I personally think you could go at, I don't know, 10-2 just seems 10-2 with no quality wins. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would put Mizzou in there at 10-2 with no quality wins.
Right.
Unless if OU was better than, what they're showing, maybe. But and if Mizzou competes with Bama at 10-2, I could see it. Like, a
A
one
dogfight.
possession
Yeah.
game or something like that. But this game, I think, is vital this weekend.
I don't want this to sound the wrong way. I felt terrible using this phrase, but I told Drew on the channel last night, it almost feels like a Super Bowl for Mizzou. Like if you win this game, and I hate to say it because then you turn around and have another Super Bowl right there. But I mean,
Every week they call us our games every Super Bowl.
that's what
We have
these
all
guys are
these
saying.
memes. We have all these memes that have people saying Kentucky's our Super Bowl in South Carolina, and I'm like, well, what's going on?
And it's just like, and it's a silly term, but it's just, for me, that schedule, I'm sure that I'm just saying, from coaches and players' perspective over the last 2 weeks, and probably even coming into the season, we're like, if we can get by A&M at Kyle Field at 11 a.m. on Saturday, like things can really, really, really happen for us, because then you allow yourself a mulligan versus Alabama and the opportunity to like play a little more stress-free in that game, coach more stress-free, which can be a good thing in, your productivity and how you go out there and perform. And so definitely a huge game. This is my favorite game on Saturday by far. I'm not going to ask you to make an official prediction because I can't even do so myself. Anything else in regards to A&M, Mizzou, or just Mizzou football that you have, Maggie?
No, I'm one of those fans that I get crazy nervous. I wish it was almost like last year where the expectations weren't as high, kind of like we were talking about with Brady Cook. But I think fans feel it too, especially fans that are on Twitter. I'm not a big like going and running my mouth about things. I don't put on timelines like we're gonna kick their ass or anything like that. But I'm feeling the nerves. I'm feeling the nerves. I will say that. And I hope A&M's feeling the nerves too. I don't know if they are.
It's a big game for both of you. I mean, like we talked about, they can still make some noise. They had the opening loss, a new regime, Coach Elko, Coach Klein. The offense struggled obviously with Notre Dame. I mean, I feel like they've kind of washed that out of the mind, and I love you guys in it. Not an easy group or not a hard group to rile up, anyways. And so they're coming off what, 4 straight wins, and so I'm sure they're feeling good over there. And even with it being at 11 o'clock kickoff, which kind of stinks for A&M, probably a good thing for Mizzou, I still feel that the 12th man will be in full force out there. Might be a little bit late arriving for a few students, but in the end, I feel
there might be fewer people at the midnight yell than maybe there would be, but that doesn't affect the game at all. So
there you go. Yeah, but well, it's going to be a fun Saturday. I can't wait to watch. Maggie, thank you for spending some time with us, talking a little bit about it. Also, talk about your pod real quick. You had a big guest today. I don't know if that came out already or if it drops later on.
It hasn't dropped yet, but it will drop today. We had Billy Lucci of Texags on my podcast. It's called Mizzou That's Who. It's with the KC Sports Network. go give us a follow. Give me a follow. My Twitter name is at Maggie L. Johnson.
She's fun Twitter follow, guys. Go support the channel as well. If you want to catch Billy Lucci's thoughts, more Maggie's thoughts on A&M versus Mizzou, there you have a place to do so. Please, if you're watching on Twitter, Mr. Bain, hop in the profile, follow the link to the YouTube channel, like this video for Maggie, show her some love, even drop a comment, show some love. We'd love to have Maggie back. It's her second time on the channel. A little more.
I didn't get a question today.
What's that? I dropped it so far. I'll bring it back. Everybody was telling me I was being too hard on them as far
I mean, I got it right. I got my question in the last show right. So
you are one of 2 people that got it correct out of like 17 or 18 to start. So wear that badge because that's
I'll just go 1-0 and end it like end it right
I'm gonna bring it back. I did have a couple of people in the comments say oh man, I did have a couple of people in the comments say that we needed to bring it back, so I'll think about doing that, or I'll probably will bring it back. But yeah, guys, like this video, show Maggie some love, subscribe to the channel, go check out her episode with Billy Lucci today. Mizzou, tell me what Mizzou that too. I know how to say that.
KC Sports Network, yes.
At the KC Sports Network, check it out. Get ready for a big